All right, I am back again with another book review. I know these generally aren't my most popular videos, but I enjoy doing them and I think there is a little bit of value in them. And this is a book I just picked up at a local secondhand bookstore. I didn't pay a lot of money for it. I got a bit of a discount for trading stuff in, so I think I paid about $15 for this book. And the title that you can probably just barely make out here is Someone, Somewhere, Sometime by a photographer whose name I'm absolutely going to butcher, but I'm going to try and pronounce it. I think it is... let's see. Maroesjka Lavigne. I know I'm probably saying that horrendously wrong, but she's a fairly young photographer from Belgium. Honestly, I'm not even 100% sure what language they speak there. I thought they spoke French, but that name kind of seems more Scandinavian or something, but I really don't know enough about that to comment. But this right here is a book that features excerpts from 4 projects she has worked on. I believe all these projects have been displayed around the world at various museums, predominantly in Europe and New York, but I think even beyond. And it's a very interesting collection of work. There's a modest number of photos from each of these 4 collections. I want to say it averages about 16-ish, maybe a little less for one and a little more for a couple of them. But I mean, right off the bat, you gotta like that cover. You got this pink, you got a little bit of trees, you got the birds, and the birds are a little like, there's some motion blur to them. I don't know if you can make that out right now, but it's a very intriguing photo. And you might look at it and think, oh, well, this is like heavily manipulated. But I don't think it is. I think this is a natural photo, maybe with a little bit of manipulation. I really think it's possible you could have taken this around the evening with a sky kind of pinkish like that. I've seen the sky every once in a while turn kind of a pinkish color like that. And, you know, if you got the birds flying by pretty fast, there's a little bit of motion blur. And I think it's a really beautiful image, whether it's 100% natural or kind of manipulated. I think it's a very fascinating image. And I think it's a very apt cover image for this book because it's simple but kind of striking. And I think that's a theme that you get into with this book. So let me just go ahead and open it up and get into it. You can see part of the reason it's so cheap, the binding is coming a little bit undone there. But, you know, that probably saved me like $40, so I can live with it. And in here you'll find there is a sort of a reference sheet, and it shows all the photos and gives you the name of the photo and the year it was taken. I've seen this in other books, and I always kind of like that. So you just have just the photos in the book, and there's nothing to really distract from them or to detract from them. But as you move on, you will see you have a little index that has the 4 projects and what page they're on. I won't get into that too much, but there are some very cool images. Let me change this just a little bit. There you go. All right. There's a lot of really cool images in here from all around the world. I think each project takes place in a different country, and most of them just have some sort of theme of showing people to some extent, but also there's a lot of landscapes and things, which I really like. I've always liked landscapes, and I feel like that's a thing that's kind of hard to do as a photographer because it seems very easy, but I think in the assumed ease, there's actually a lot of difficulty in conveying things like scope and scale, things like weather, just conditions, like anything like that is kind of hard to convey. And I think she does a very good job of that. And I really admire that. I think that's probably one of the things I've seen most of all out of her work that really strikes me. Apparently she does have an MFA. I don't really know too much about that, but I found that kind of interesting. I've heard of MFAs, obviously, and I've heard people tell me I should try to pursue one, but I've never really had the desire, I guess, and I'm not really sure what it would accomplish. But aside from that, I just thought I would show this right here. This is my favorite part. You'll notice that's a cover image again. I think it's been kind of zoomed out, and you see there's a lot more birds and a little bit more on the, looks at both the vertical and horizontal axis. But the interesting thing about this is a little fold-out piece where you have this entire like fold-out folio, and it just keeps going. And you have all these interesting images in here, and it's kind of hard to even show them all. And I got a 28mm lens, and it's not really letting me show them. And I have never seen a fold-out quite like this in a photo book, and I absolutely love it. There's 2 of these. I'll show you the other one in a minute. And I really think these are some of the nicest insert type things I've seen in a photo book. I've seen a couple of photo books that have like a map you can pull out for reference and it kind of unfolds. That's a neat idea. I've seen some that have just big pages, like the whole page, the main page just kind of like folds out and you get a wide image, or, you know, both pages fold out and you get like a super wide image. I've seen that quite a bit. And I think it's kind of interesting, but I've seen it a lot. I've never seen one quite like this, where it's a little fold out. I'm going to call it a folio. I don't know what else you would call it. There's probably a better name for it, but it's just fascinating to me because I could almost see these, being blown up and made a little bit bigger and potentially sold or displayed as little, just interesting photo pieces. And I really like that. And I think this is a brilliant idea. And this is one thing I love about photo books, is getting to see stuff like this, because you can't really see this on an online gallery. You don't quite see this level of quality and that type of this super condensed image format. And I like that. I think that's neat. And again, pretty unique thing to photo books. I guess you could kind of show something like this in a gallery, but I don't know if it would have quite the same surprise of coming across it and being like, oh, what is this? It would still be like displayed on a wall somewhere. And I find it very intriguing. And that's one reason I love photo books so much, is because there's little surprises like this you can kind of squeeze into them. You couldn't really effectively show in most other mediums. So that's the first one. Let's try to move on and not damage that. I'll just skip to the second one, which is right here. This one's a little bit simpler, but it's a little bit more thematic. It's all trees and plants. But again, it's a pretty large spread. Both of them have 7 images, which I think is a good balance. It's a lot, but it's not an overwhelming amount. And this one's just all plants and trees, and they're all kind of in different stages of blooms, different types of trees, different times of the year with the different colors of foliage. And again, I just really like it. It's a very concise way to display these images. And I don't know, I just like it. So this is the final project that is by far my favorite. This one is called Lands of Nothingness, and this was shot somewhere in Africa. I don't know if it was confined to one country or multiple countries. I could probably look it up, but I just didn't. But right here you can kind of see you have just a bunch of giraffes kind of walking across sort of a desert or scrubland. And it just has such a great color quality to it. I think they might have done something to kind of possibly edit the ground a little bit and make it a little more drab. But it's just a very nice, striking image. It reminds me a little bit of... there's another photographer who shot a lot of stuff in Africa, and I can't think of his name right now, but he did a lot of artsy stuff of like endangered animals and things like that. He did a whole series of books, and it kind of reminds me of his work a little bit, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head. There's another desert scene. All very striking, I would say. Kind of a house. You have this one right here of a rhino. This is amazing to me, because again, I kind of have to assume that this image has probably been on some level altered, because it's so white. Like the rhino is very white, and you see the kind of mud caked on, but the earth is a very similar color. The sky is a very similar color. Again, I imagine there's probably some photo editing going on there, but I guess this could even be film. I guess if you had the right type of film and kind of like pushed it, you could get kind of a similar look. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to convey well on the camera. You can kind of see it, but it just doesn't, you don't quite get the same quality, I don't think. But it's a really stunning image, and I really love it. It's just, it's fascinating because it's such a weird thing. It's almost alien, but at the same time, it's so recognizable. And that's just a balance that I think is really hard to strike. Got some more. There's an ostrich, and it keeps going. There's a lot more landscapes. But I would definitely say check out her work. She has some really fascinating stuff. And I mean, she's produced all 4 of these projects that are in here. And I think she's only a little over 30, so she's pretty young. And it's kind of amazing to me that somebody so young has done so much and already made a pretty substantial name for themselves. Kind of jealous of that, I'll be honest, but I gotta say, this is an absolutely great book. I would strongly suggest picking it up, and I'm gonna have to probably get some hot glue and bind mine back together. But once again, the book is called Someone, Somewhere, Sometime. I strongly suggest looking it up. I believe it's still selling new, and I would say it's definitely one that you should probably pick up and kind of keep your eye on. And it's definitely a photographer you should keep your eye on and follow. She has a website. I looked at it. It has some of the photos. I think the book gives you much better display and organization of them. But, definitely someone to look into, and a book that you probably want to add to your collection.